Hello everyone, welcome to this session on AWS demo class. So today in this session, we will go ahead and understand what is AWS, what is cloud, and how basically we are going to learn cloud in the coming sessions forward. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the agenda. So we're going to start off by discussing what is cloud computing and then move on to discuss what are the different kind of models on which cloud basically operates. After that, we're going to talk about what is AWS exactly, talk about the various services which are there in AWS, the various domains that are there in AWS, and finally talk about AWS pricing, followed by hands-on as well that I'll be showing you in between the class as and when we are talking about services. Okay, so this would be the agenda, guys. Now, before we move on, let me talk about some things over here, guys. So I have some people on webinar who have joined me today, and there are also some people who have joined us on YouTube. So people on webinar, whenever you have questions, you can just ask me questions, and I will be taking a logical break, after teaching some concepts, and then I'll be answering all the questions for you. And the people on YouTube, if you are interested, you can just head over to intellipaat.com/academy and you can register for this webinar. All right. So now let's go ahead and start off with this session, guys, with the first topic, which is introduction to cloud computing. Okay, so what is cloud computing exactly? So cloud computing is basically, the use of remote servers on the internet, which are not owned by you, but the time that you use these servers for, you basically are charged for that particular time. In other words, whenever you use servers which are basically on rent, and when you use it for your office work, when you use it for any kind of work related to IT, it is basically probably the case that you're using a cloud service. Okay, this is the most minimalistic definition that you can understand about cloud. So people who probably are new to cloud, who want to understand, is there any difference between AWS and cloud? What is cloud exactly? What is it? I heard a lot about it a lot of times. Is it servers? Is it database? So it's nothing. It's basically servers when you want to use it on a rental basis, when you don't buy it, right? That service is basically called a cloud service. Now that server can be anything. It could be a database server, it could be a web server, right? It could be any kind of server, that does not matter. But the cloud service basically means that whenever you're using servers on a rented basis, it's basically called as cloud. Okay, so with this definition, let's move on and now talk about a simple scenario, right? So why do you think this service basically exists? Why do you think a service like this exists? Let's understand that using an example. So let's say you're a developer, right? And what you want to do is you basically want to create an application, or you want to develop an application. So when you develop an application, what happens? You develop it and you add all the features necessary, and now the final step is to basically make it live to the world. You want to make it available to the world so that everyone can use it, right? Now you will say, what's the big deal in that? All I have to do is I basically just have to upload it to the Play Store, and from the Play Store, anybody who wants to use my application can go ahead and use it and basically be done with their work. But that is not all. That is not the end of uh, your work. So let's assume we created an application like Instagram. Okay, now you made it available on the Play Store. Great. For that, you don't need any cloud service. Now when people download it and when people want to upload their application or upload their photos over there, or they want to message each other, so in that case, what is happening? So there is a server which is running in the backend in the Instagram company, on which basically you are able to upload your photos, through which you are able to go ahead and probably explore some more of your friends who have also registered on the app. So all the data for this app that you're using is basically stored on a server, and this server is basically hosted on cloud in most of the cases. Now, what are those most of the cases? Let's say you as a guy, you basically developed Instagram, let's assume. So now you do not have that kind of money to basically have servers which can be used for the entire world, right? So how many people do you think are using Instagram today? There are billions, or even not billions, I'll say there are millions of people who use Instagram every day. Now, to serve these people, right, to serve the needs for these people, to have that kind of compute power, you obviously need very large servers with huge compute and memory capacity, and only then this work will be done, right? Now, how do you get this work done? How do you go ahead and implement a thing like this, right? So in order for a guy like us who wants to open a application like Instagram, obviously we need funding, right? So we need people who can probably invest on our product, and only when we get the funding, probably we can buy the servers and put our or host our application code over there so that millions of people can access it at any time. Or the option for me is cloud, where I can have thousands of servers for my application without even buying a single server. What I can do is I can rent servers, and the rent of servers is very cheap, guys. So let's say if you are hosting an application, obviously you would have also thought about how you're going to monetize or how your application is going to earn. Let's say that medium is ads. So let's say after 1 month, your ad revenue is around, let's assume it's around $10,000, right? And at the end of the month is the only time when you also have to pay your cloud bill, which will probably come around $1,000 or $2,000, based on if there are 100,000 people using your application. That would be the most amount of bill that you will get, right? And this is where you see the margin for your business, and this is where you can start earning. So there are a lot of startups, any IT startup, which is basically dealing with some product of theirs which has to be available online, are basically hosting their applications on cloud so that they don't have to buy servers. They can basically rent them, and at the same time they can get their profit margin. All right, and that is why you will see that there are a lot of cloud jobs out there. There are a lot of companies who want to implement on the cloud infrastructure. Now, there is one very strong argument that you can make over here that, okay, I understand about startups, but why do I see companies like Flipkart, companies like Amazon, looking for AWS solutions architects or cloud engineers or DevOps engineers? Why do we have people like these who are basically going and asking for cloud engineers? Well, guys, what happens is, let me give you one more example. So let's say I have all the money in the world to buy servers. Okay, so what I do is I buy some 1,000 or 2,000 servers, and then basically I hire some 100 or 200 engineers who are basically going to help me manage those servers. I put my application over it. Now, what happens after 2-3 years? After 2-3 years, this hardware gets outdated. This hardware will start getting faults. So now, as a CEO of a company, a CEO of an IT company who just wants to develop software, I also have to deal with a lot of hardware problems. I have to make sure that my hardware is always upgraded. I have to make sure that my hardware is always up to date. Now, this kind of headache is not there in cloud. So in cloud, what happens is if there is any fault, it's the cloud provider's headache that they will look after it. Forget about the money. Money is not the problem. The problem is with time, right? If you have your application on your own servers, let's say at 3 a.m. in the night, some server, it basically went off because of some hardware problem. Now you automatically need someone over there in the company who can swap out disks, put it on a new server so that your application goes up, right? Now this kind of a headache is not there in cloud. If you have something in cloud, you can be rest assured that it is running. Only the problem could be on the software end if something is not working, but their hardware is perfectly good. There's nothing going to happen into your hardware. And if it even happens, it will probably be an instance of around once or twice in years. Probably once or twice it will happen in a year or two that some outage would have happened, and because of which your service would have taken some downtime. But because of hardware, you will never suffer a downtime. And because of this same reason, large corporations, they are opting for cloud because they are getting SLAs from cloud that they guarantee a 99.999% uptime. Okay, so this was a brief about why cloud is such a hype right now. So what are the advantages when you basically as a business move into cloud computing? So there is little or no investment. You can focus more on app development because now you don't have to deal with hardware failures. And the third thing is it obviously requires less workforce because you don't have to hire hardware engineers to look after your servers. Okay. So what are some kind of cloud products that probably you would be using day in and day out and you don't realize? So Google Drive is a prime example of a cloud product. Anything that you want to upload, you can just upload on Google Drive and it is stored on the cloud. Netflix as an application is hosted on the AWS infrastructure, right? So any movie that you watch, that movie is stored in the AWS servers. The website is also running on the AWS servers. Airbnb, even the Amazon product, which is the largest e-commerce option in the market, Prime Video, all these are products which are basically hosted on AWS. Now, before we move on, let me see if we have any kind of questions related to what is AWS or what is cloud. Okay, so Sina is saying if we have taken rented DC for servers, if we are taken rented DC servers, can we call it cloud? So now whenever you get an option of, you get a dashboard through which you have an option of deploying thousands of servers, without any limit, it can be termed as cloud. So cloud is basically, a term which is, it came into the existence because of the fact that you don't have to worry about is there capacity in that company or not. If today I need a 256 gigabits RAM server, I can go ahead and get it. I don't have to see whether that company is having, the servers or not. If I want to upload a 5 terabyte file right now to cloud, I should have the option of doing it. If these kind of services are being offered by a provider, you can term them as cloud providers. Okay. Darshan is saying, I'm a mechanical engineer. I don't have any idea about is it right to take AWS as a career? Well, Darshan, if you can understand this session today, it would be an answer to you. Ravi says, is Gmail a cloud product? Absolutely, Ravi. Any Google service that you're using, it's basically hosted on the Google Cloud platform, right? You talk about Google Search, you talk about Gmail, you talk about Google Drive, everything is a cloud product. Okay, Ravi is saying, so if I run some servers and put my application on it, and tomorrow I think I don't need these many servers, then I can release them back and provision when it is needed? Yes, absolutely, Ravi. That is exactly what the cloud funda is. That is exactly what the cloud model is. You use them whenever you till whatever time you want to, and whenever you feel you can give them back, and you will only be charged for the time you use those servers. That's about it. So there's no commitment that you have to do when you're dealing with clouds. Okay. Sina is saying banks have hosted application and DB servers on a DC at Mumbai. This DC data center has their physical servers located at Mumbai. Will that be considered that banks app is in cloud? Well, Sina, as we move along, you will understand there is something called as private cloud as well, right? So when you have your own servers, but you have them in a quantity that you will never run out of compute capacity or storage capacity, that is also something which is termed as cloud, but that would be private cloud. We'll be discussing more. Just hold on. So Ravi is saying, is it okay if I say that it is pay for what you use? Yes, Ravi. It's basically the exact term is called pay as you go. That's the exact term that you use. Tripti says, is it secure for banking purpose? Yes, Tripti. So, see, there are a lot of options in cloud as well, and you will understand it as we move along, which make them secure for any kind of application hosting which is out there. Right? There are a lot of options in cloud which you can. So even government data centers are now on cloud. Do you know that? Right? So that's how secure, or that's the kind of options that these cloud providers have now given to us, that we can be rest assured that nothing is going to leak out of cloud providers. Okay. All right. Any more questions, guys? Anything that I should be answering for you? If not, let's go ahead. Okay. So many people are saying security is a major concern when it comes to cloud. Is it true? If yes, how can we make sure our apps are secure in cloud? Good question, Ravi. But I think we should take it up later, because right now it's just about what cloud is. So any questions with respect to what cloud is, why is it used, any question related to this, let me know. If not, let's go ahead and understand the other topics. Okay, Sinha is saying, why cloud providers like AWS recruit cloud professionals? Well, Sinha, that's because once you have the cloud product out there, right? Like for example, Amazon, they have their own cloud, but they need people who can operate their probably their Amazon website on their own cloud, right? You have Google Cloud Platform. Google Cloud Platform also is is basically hosting their Google Search, is hosting their Google Drive. So for them also they need cloud professional. Other than that, if you need any more products which you're trying to build on your cloud, uh, for example, let's say tomorrow in AWS, you get an option of a new service which is going to help you out for probably making a call, or there's already a service which makes basically helps you to create a data center, not a data center, sorry, a call center, a virtual call center you can create using AWS services. So all these services, it requires not only developers to work on it, but it also requires a cloud professional who will understand, if I want to deploy or if I want to give a service to you like this, what is the, or how am I going to deploy, or how am I going to architect the servers in the backend, which are basically going to is going to support this kind of an application that I'm giving to you. For example, when you use Google Drive, you can upload your data over there, right? But how is that data saved on a server is something which is planned, which is all planned by an architect. How the data will get ingested, where will it be stored, how will it be replicated, how will you make it highly available. These are all things which have to be planned when any product is rolled out. And for all these things, you need cloud professionals. So yes, so any company, they will require cloud professionals for any kind of thing. Okay, Sandeep is saying, I'm working on Kubernetes and Docker. Is it beneficial for me to change to cloud engineer profile? Absolutely, Sandeep. So just go ahead and search for a cloud engineer. You will get your answer. When you search for a cloud engineer on any job portal, the kind of job descriptions that you will get will not only expect you to have these DevOps skills, which is Kubernetes and Docker, but they will also expect you to know AWS. They will also expect you to know Azure, GCP, and a lot of other things. Sandeep is saying, suppose we're using 10 GB of space in S3. So are we going to pay only for this 10 GB? Yes, Sandeep, absolutely. Darshan is saying, so right now, how many companies use AWS? Well, of all the companies who are using cloud right now, I think AWS has around 35% market share. So out of 100, if there are 100 companies which are using cloud, 35 companies are using AWS. And you will think that this number is small, but out of all those cloud providers, AWS is the largest cloud provider in the market with the largest market share. So this 35% is no other company has a market share which is more than, I'd say, 15% also. So AWS has a margin of around 20%. It's 20% ahead of any other cloud company in the world. Okay, Devendra is saying, I have 5 years of experience in tech support. Can you please let me know AWS Solution Architect course is sufficient, or I need to learn more for cloud? Well, I mean, for starters, I would say Devendra, AWS Solutions Architect is perfect for you, right? Because you know Linux, you know databases, which again is a requirement for any cloud engineer when he wants to go ahead. Especially Linux, you should know Linux when you are learning cloud. So that's why even when Intellipaat offers you a cloud course, it gives the Linux course for free for you to understand. Okay. Okay, so I see there are no more questions with respect to what I just explained. So let's go ahead and understand the different kind of cloud models which are out there, using which you can, using which the business basically operate. Okay, so there are two kind of models on cloud, guys. So one is the deployment models, and then you have something called as service models. So what is the difference between the two? So whenever you work on cloud, or sorry for this. So whenever you work on cloud, right? Or let's say you are in the cloud business, there are two kind of businesses which basically companies who give you the cloud service basically offer. The one kind of business is called the deployment model business, and the second kind of business which they offer you is called the service model business. Or in other words, what you can say is, when you want to deal with cloud products, you get two kind of cloud products. You get deployment products, and then you get service products. So let's first talk about deployment products or models. Okay, so in deployment models, guys, there are three options that are given to you. The first option is public cloud, then you have something called as private cloud, and then you have something called as hybrid cloud. So what is public cloud? So public cloud basically deals with cloud providers, which are, or it basically deals with servers that are given to you on rent, which are also shared by other people out there. Now, what do I mean by this? So let's say I am AWS and I have millions of people who have created an account with me, and all these million people, they want servers according to their usage. Some people want around 100 GB RAM servers with 12 core CPUs. Some people want only 2 GB RAM system with 1 core CPU. So you have that option, you have that flexibility of choosing how powerful server you want when you want to deploy on cloud. Now, what happens is, I, as a cloud provider, it will be impossible for me if I get a server according to all the different kind of requirements that my customer gives. So what I do is, I buy one server which has around 512 GB of RAM, which has around 100 core CPUs, and I buy multiple type I buy multiple count of these servers. So probably I buy around 200 or 300 of these servers in the starting. And what I do is, on these servers, I basically install a virtualization software. So what will now happen? Let's say you need around 2 GB of machine. So I'll just take 2 GB RAM from my system and whatever core number of cores of CPU you need, and I will spin up a virtual machine on one of my servers. And that virtual machine, I will give an IP address, I will give a internet connection, and then I will give that IP address to you, through which you will be able to access that virtual machine. So you will not know that you are actually a part of a bigger server. You will not know how many other people are also running a virtual machine on that same server, right? So this kind of a setup is called public cloud. When a company buys very big or very huge capacity servers, and each server hosts multiple customers product, or multiple customers VM, right? Then it is termed as public cloud. Okay. uh, so let's say you are working in a bank. So somebody raised the point that, is it safe to host confidential data on cloud? So when I say public cloud, now a lot of you guys will be thinking, okay, so let's say I have some highly confidential data of bank, which I am hosting in my virtual machine. And now when you tell me that my machine is being shared by other people also, is there a chance where a person can hack from their virtual machine into my machine and get the data out from there? Right now, my reply to you as an IT guy would be, that is not possible. But nothing is impossible in this world, guys. You have seen in the past that companies like Facebook, companies like LinkedIn, companies like Sony have been hacked, and their data has been breached, their data has been made available. So nothing is safe in this world. So with this kind of a setup where there are chances that there might be a data leak, for that very reason, right, what a cloud provider also option or also offers is a private cloud. Now, what is a private cloud? Now, there are two types of private cloud. The first type of private cloud is I, as Amazon Web Services, tell you that if you want a server that will exclusively just have your virtual machines, no other customer will get access to this server, no matter if this server runs idle as well. I will run a machine with 512 core of CPU, with 512 GB of RAM. You can go ahead and use it, and I can give you a surety that no other customer will be using this machine. So I have dedicated a machine just for you. This is private cloud. And the other type of private cloud could also be that you buy your own server, but you buy it in the same fashion that a cloud provider did. You also buy, huge capacity servers, and you also install a virtualization software out of it. But instead of asking a company to give you servers, you basically design a software through which you can deploy your own virtual machines on your own infrastructure. That is also termed as private cloud. So now both of these are used. Like for example, IBM has their own infrastructure, and now they are also giving their own cloud, which is basically called IBM Cloud. So all the IBM products that you see are hosted on their own infrastructure, that is on their private cloud. Okay. Uh, and what kind of companies basically prefer private cloud? So banks, especially, they opt in for something called as a mixture of a public and private cloud, which we'll be talking about in a little while. But I hope the difference between public cloud and private cloud is clear. Any questions over here, guys? Anything that you did not understand? Okay, so Devendra is saying, okay, I have 5 years of experience. I think I've already taken up this question. Lakshmi is saying, is learning DevOps with AWS necessary or AWS will be sufficient? Let's take these questions at the end of the session, guys. Let's stick on to what I'm explaining to you guys right now. Is this clear, guys, what I'm talking about? Pramod is saying, what is AWS architect? Well, Pramod, the AWS architect is a profile. So anyone who becomes an architect, anyone who becomes a person who can clear the AWS architect exam is basically called an AWS architect. Darshan says, should we need to know programming? No, programming is not required for AWS, guys. Bhupendra says, dedicated machines used in cloud. Yes, Bhupendra, that would be private cloud. Bhupendra says, means that cloud is private or access to that VPC is also restricted. VPC is a different concept altogether, Bhupendra. So it's not like VPC is restricted for that particular cloud. The whole hardware itself is isolated from other customers. That's what a private cloud is. Devendra is saying, in private cloud, is this also pay as you go? Yes, Devendra, it's also pay as you go. Jatiraj is saying, if IBM has its own data centers, then why it is termed as private cloud? Well, because like I said, let's say I am a company, if I have my own data centers, they will also be termed as private cloud. So if I use my own servers for my application or for my product, that cloud that I'm using will be termed as a private cloud. But when you give your servers for the world to use and you are also hosting your applications on the same place, then it will be termed as public cloud. I hope the difference is clear. Pramod is saying, how can I understand that a system is in public cloud or private cloud? Well, Pramod, you will have to. So when you deploy an application or when you deploy a server on cloud, and you're not specifically telling them that I need my own dedicated server, you are basically deploying your server on a public cloud. Until and unless you specify to your cloud provider that you need a dedicated server, nobody else should be able to host their applications on my server. Only then they will give you. Otherwise, your application is going to be on public cloud. This is true for any cloud provider which is out there. Sandeep is saying AWS is public or private? Both, Sandeep. So you have an option of deploying your application on public cloud, which like I said, is generally the case. But if you specify that you need to deploy servers which will be just for you, even that is possible. And that would be the private cloud of AWS. Bhupendra says private cloud means machine that inside that is dedicated. Bhupendra, private cloud means when machines are not shared between you and other customers which are there for that same cloud provider. For example, you and I, we can both be customers of AWS. And let's say tomorrow we deploy a T2.micro on AWS. There are chances that both of our servers are deployed on the same machine. Like I said, the machine is is of a bigger configuration, and hence each machine can host multiple virtual machines. So if you don't want any other person to be there on your server, only your virtual machine should be running on that server, then it is termed as a dedicated server, which is basically called as a private cloud. Devendra is saying, in private cloud, is there also pay as you go? I think Devendra, I've answered your question. Ravi says, sir, private cloud means it is specific to one organization and not shared by anyone else. Yes, Ravi. Sandeep says, I have set up an Elasticsearch enterprise on Azure VMs. I can say it's a private cloud setup. Not really, Sandeep, because you have not specified that you actually you do not want anyone to anyone else to be able to deploy the same kind of app on which your application is basically being hosted right now. So when you deploy an Azure Search Enterprise, you do not know how many servers are basically running in the backend to basically make this service running on your portal. Now, if these servers are also helping some other customers and your data is being routed from it, it is not termed as public cloud, right? So a private cloud means that the whole infrastructure is isolated from all the other customers. It is specially for you. No other person will be allowed to have their application on those servers, period. And that's about it. That's what private cloud is. Sina says, can you please park career counseling kind of session for Q&A? Yes, we'll do that. Ashish says, if company uses private cloud, are they responsible for hardware upgrade, maintenance, etc.? Yes. So any company which is basically providing you servers, right? They are basically responsible for doing the hardware upgrades. You will not be charged for any of these upgrades or maintenance, etc. Right? So this is totally the responsible of the cloud provider on which is basically hosting the server for you. And having said that, they will also not charge you for anything like this, right? It's all in them. It's all on them to upgrade or maintain, etc. You will just be charged for the amount of time that you're using the servers. Okay, Sandeep is saying, I've installed Docker on Azure VMs. I have ordered. Okay, Sandeep. So even that does not term it as a private cloud. So like I said, if that condition is being met, only then it will be private cloud. Sina is saying AWS provided private cloud can offer non-shared server, but a shared network is this assumption correct? Not really, Sina. So if you're opting for a private cloud, even the network resources that will be given to you will not be shared. You'll have a separate switch, you'll have a separate router, everything will be separate. They will say, if I ask for 500 GB private cloud, but I'm using only 100 GB, so do I need to pay for the other 400 GB as well? Well, you cannot order for anything, Devendra. When you are using the storage in cloud, they don't ask you how much amount of space do you need. All you do is you upload your stuff over there. That's about it. There are some cases where, for example, when you're creating a hard drive for a server, in that case, let's say the hard drive for the server that you want is around 100 GB. Obviously, in that case, the 100 GB charge will be charged to you. But when you talk about the storage services on AWS, for example, S3, right? In that case, they don't ask you how much of data you are going to upload. You can just upload it over there and that's about it. But yes, because the drawback of having a server is that you need to specify how much amount of hard drive space you need. And that hard drive space, since you have to specify at the starting, you will be charged for it, based on how much amount of hard drive you have specified. Okay. Jatiraj say, what is the difference between on-premise and private cloud? Jatiraj, there'll be no difference in the second type of private cloud that I explained you, where you have your own servers, and those own servers basically are in a unlimited kind of a capacity like the ones on cloud. That means that if you want 10 virtual machines, you can have 10 virtual machines at your disposal. One difference that I can think about is, let's say you have your application and only your database server is hosted in your premises. and the rest, everything is on cloud. So since you just are dealing with 3 or 4 servers with where basically you have a database, that's basically called an on-premise system. But when you're dealing with, let's say, hundreds of servers on your premise, where you can basically deploy them or release them as and when you want, that would be, a private cloud. Okay, so that would be the end of the questions, guys. I hope this topic is clear to you. Moving further, now let's understand what is hybrid cloud. So hybrid cloud, guys, basically means when you have, so let's take again the scenario of banks. So let's say bank says, all right, I trust you when you say that you will not be sharing my machine with anyone else, but still what I want to do is I want to have all my records of my customers on my own server. Probably my website I will host on your servers. Probably my transaction servers I can host on your servers. But my database, which will basically have the records of all my users, their passwords, their emails, I want to be very careful about it, and I want to host it inside my own company, right? But the other things, I can host it on your cloud, and from your cloud, I can connect the database to my premises, and that's how the website is going to work. So when you are basically having this kind of a setup, in this case, it's called a hybrid cloud, where you're not only using instances or where you're not only using servers which are there on your own premises, but you're also using servers which are there on the public cloud. This is called as a hybrid cloud. Again, if you have a private cloud infrastructure setup where you have dedicated servers for some kind of applications, and for other applications, you probably are okay with even using a private public cloud, in that case also it would be termed as a hybrid cloud deployment. Okay, so guys, this is basically the theory about deployment models which are there in cloud. Now, similarly, there is something called as service models. So what are service models? There are 3 kinds of service models that any cloud provider is going to give you. First is called infrastructure as a service. Then there is something called as platform as a service. And then there is something called as software as a service. Now, I want your full attention over here because I'm going to ask you questions. So first, let me explain all these 3. So infrastructure as a service basically means that whenever you get servers for use, for example, let's say I have an EC2, sorry, not EC2. Let's say I take a Windows server from cloud and I start using it. So in that case, I'm getting access to the operating system. I am able to install any software that I want on my machine. So it's similar to having my own machine, but right now I'm just using it on a remote desktop or on a remote software, right? So in this case, this is called infrastructure as a service. I'm giving you the infrastructure which you want. If you want 3 systems, I'll give you 3 systems. If you want Linux operating system to be installed on it, I'll install the Linux operating system. I'll give you the operating system to work on. Okay, that is what infrastructure as a service is. Then there is something called as platform as a service. So platform as a service basically means that I will not give you servers to work on. I will not give you an operating system to work on. But what I give you is basically a dashboard where I guarantee you that if you upload your code, that code will be hosted on AWS, and I can make your website deployed, right? Let's say you have some website that you have designed and you want to host it on cloud. So what are the things that you can do? First thing is I can opt for an infrastructure as a service, which will basically give me a server. I can install all the web server softwares on it. Then I can put my code on it. Then I can make my application live. That is option number 1. Option number 2 is I do not get the access to the operating system. I do not choose which operating system that I want. What I tell AWS is I want to make my application to be hosted. So what AWS says is, great, what you can do is you can give me the code. So it gives you an option to upload your code. The moment your code is uploaded, AWS themselves, they manage the server for you. They install all the softwares for you. They put your application automatically inside the defined folder. And they just give you a link that this is the link. You gave me the code. This is the link where your application is hosted. This is what platform as a service is. So in this case, you're not getting the access to the operating system. But what you do get access to is kind of a dashboard through which you can upload your code and your code will be hosted automatically. and we will be doing demos on these today as well. Then you have something called as software as a service. So what is software as a service? Software as a service basically means that I will not give you the access to a dashboard as well, but what I will do is I will give you access to a software. For example, if you want to watch movies, you can just go to netflix.com and watch movies, right? So this netflix.com is basically a software. It is hosted on the cloud that you do not know. What you do know is if I go to netflix.com, I can watch movies. So it's a software where you can watch movies. One more example, if I can give you, is Gmail. So Gmail is also hosted on cloud. So you do not get access to the operating system for Gmail. You do not get access to upload your own code on Gmail. But what you do get access to is for using the Gmail service. So the Gmail service is basically a software which is hosted on cloud and it is offered to you as a service. Similarly, you will see that people who are from sales background or support background, they will understand that you have CRMs, you have ticketing tools. All these CRMs, all these ticketing tools are basically hosted on cloud, but you do not get to know about it, right? What you do get access to is probably your login and password. You can log into it, and then you can probably solve tickets, or you can save the customer's information in the CRM, and that information is saved somewhere. You do not care where it is saved, but it is saved somewhere, right? And most of the cases, these are actually hosted on cloud providers like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, DigitalOcean, etc. Right? So that's what a software as a service is. So I hope these differences are clear to you. And if these differences are clear, I will now like to go ahead and start with a hands-on where it will become more clear for you guys. Okay, Ravi says, sir, in case of hybrid cloud, since I'm using both on-premise and public cloud, how will I connect to on-premise with cloud? What are the options available for this? Well, Ravi, let's say I have a database server, which I'm hosting on-premise. So obviously this database server, I'll have to either connect to the internet or I'll have to have a network which will directly have a connection to the cloud provider. And through this network, I will be able to connect to the cloud servers. Usually when you're dealing with a hybrid cloud setup, when you're dealing with confidential data, you have a hard line which goes from your company to the cloud provider. And through this hard line, you basically connect the cloud provider's network to your company's network. And that is how the communication happens. But for companies which do not or cannot afford this kind of an infrastructure, they make their server available on the internet. They get an IP address, and that IP address, is mentioned in the public clouds application through which they are able to interact with each other. So that's how it happens. Bhupendra says Gmail can be considered as SaaS, but Netflix, we don't make use of it. So is it still SaaS? Well, Netflix you use, right, Bhupendra? You use it for watching movies. It's basically kind of a software through which you can watch movies. So it is basically doing something for you. Hence, it's a software, right? Ravi says Salesforce, Jira, Service Desk, ServiceNow, etc. are some examples of CRM, sir. Yes, Ravi, absolutely. And these are all hosted on cloud, right? So you do not know which operating system these softwares are hosted on. You do not know how many servers are being hosted for these softwares. But what you do know is you can use this software, right? And that's why it's a software as a service. Bhupendra says, I pay monthly stuff. That's why it's service. Yes, so it's a service which is being offered to you, right? For example, Gmail is free, Google Drive is free, Netflix is not, but still it's a service, right? So you pay monthly for it and you use it. So that's why it's software as a service. Sandeep says VPN Tunnel is a good option for this. Okay, VPN Tunnel is basically used when you want to connect over the internet to a network which is probably there on cloud, right? So if you cannot afford a hard lease line to the cloud provider, yes, you can go ahead and use VPN. But usually for the companies who basically go for this setup, they have that kind of money because they already were hosting everything on premise. It's just now that they were trying to migrate, but some servers they don't want to migrate, right? So that's why they they basically go for a leased line between their company and the cloud provider, and they basically connect their network properties from there. Ravi says, what will that be similar to a VPN tunnel? Ravi, when you're using the lease line, no. But when you're connecting from the internet, probably yes. Bhupendra says, any web application means it's SaaS. Yes, so if it's hosted on cloud, it can be termed as SaaS, Bhupendra. Devendra saying, is Facebook, in Facebook, we can also upload our data. Is this also pure SaaS? Because in past, we got dashboard for uploading the data. Well, Devendra, in past, the data that you upload is being used to make changes to your application, which you are basically hosting. For example, let's say in AWS, there are two kind of services. One is Elastic Beanstalk and one is Lambda. Okay. In Elastic Beanstalk, you get a dashboard where you can upload your code and then your application gets hosted. That's what you wanted. Then you have something called as Lambda, where you can upload your code and whatever you throw at the Lambda service, the input will be processed and the process input will be given back to you. Right. So in this case, again, you're not dealing with servers, you're not dealing with operating system. You upload your code, you're getting a product out of it. Yeah, right. Whatever you're uploading, you're getting a product out of it. In Facebook, you're not getting any product. It's basically meant for uploading of photos, right? And you upload photos, and then it's basically a social media application. It's a software, right? So you install softwares and then you use it. So Facebook is basically a social media app. It cannot be termed as platform as a service because you're not using it to get something done for your own need. Platform as a service will only be used or can only be termed as a platform when it will basically help you to host a product. If it's not helping you to host a product, then it cannot be called as a platform as a service. And again, I mean, these concepts are all debatable, guys. This is something which you can uh, understand mentally what these things are, but in the real world, these don't matter a lot. I mean, if you're a cloud architect and if you're developing an application, it will not matter if you call it as a platform as a service or software as a service. It's just for our understanding how we term things and then how we basically understand them in our mind. Okay. Sina says, apparently net banking app seems to be a SaaS, but I'm a bit confused as you can update patches on it, which is basically an infrastructure as a service. Okay. Well, Sina, net banking app is a software for you. For the developers, it's their product, right? So there's a difference. Who will do the patches on this net banking app? You will not do it, right? The developers who created that app will be doing it. And where will they be doing it? They will be doing it on the servers where basically they have hosted this app. Correct? So you do not have access to those servers. You just have access to this app. So for you, it's a software as a service. For them, probably they're hosting it on a platform or on a server. It's up to them to decide whether they're going to use it for infrastructure or platform. The way they're hosting it. For you, you just have access to the net banking app. So it's a software as a service for you. Okay, Bhupendra says, I still feel that Netflix is not SaaS. All right, Bhupendra, no issues. Ravi says, I've heard something called AWS Direct Connect. Can you explain what it is? Ravi, that is exactly what the least line that I was talking about is. AWS Direct Connect. Okay, Tripti says, will we discuss Elastic Bean and Lambda services in detail? Not really, Tripti, because I'm pretty sure with the audience that we have in the session today, it will become very overwhelming. But what I'll do is I will basically show you how to launch a server. I will show you how you can use Elastic Beanstalk to upload your website. That is something that I'm going to cover. Okay, so praising in interview, if they're asking for IAS, then what else I need to answer for that? So Priya, they will never ask these basic questions in interview. So when you're applying for an AWS architect interview, what they really would be interested in is what are the kind of projects that you have done on AWS, not the difference between IAS and PAS. Bhupendra saying it is not selling access to some kind of software. Okay, Bhupendra, I think you're still referring to Netflix. So Bhupendra, see, you cannot call Netflix a platform because on this platform, you cannot upload anything which is going to make anything change, right? So you cannot call it a platform. You cannot call it infrastructure as a service. So if it's not SaaS, what is it? You let me know. Sina says in CRM application, the master data management upload product master data, while the end users like customer support only use it. Now, question is which one is correct, SaaS or PaaS? 1 second, SaaS or PaaS or IaaS? So CRM application is basically using the master data management upload product master data, while end users like customer support only use it. So for the end users, it will be a software as a service, Sinha. And for people who can change the data on it, that view that you're getting is probably platform as a service. Okay. So see, you cannot. So okay, let's take Bhupendra's questions as well, and let's try to understand it over here. So people who are probably in the content side of Netflix, they will be creating the content. For example, whatever written you see on the website, right? That is done by the content people. Understood? Now, these content people, if they want to change something on the website, some content that they want to change some on the website, usually what happens is developers develop a tool for them through which they do not have to deal with code. They just have to write what they want to write, publish it, and then you can view it on the Netflix homepage. This is how the Netflix employees will be managing it. So for the content people who are there in Netflix, for them, this application that the developer created is a platform as a service. Why? Because it's a platform where they are able to, they're not basically dealing with the server directly. What they do get access to is a dashboard where they can, put in some information, and that information is then reflected on the product, which is the Netflix product in this case. So for the content people, it's platform as a service. For us as end users who would just watch movies on it, we cannot do anything else on that app. It's basically a software as a service. Okay, so you can understand it like this. Similarly, in the CRM example that you're asking about, it's different. So for customer executives who can just use it, it's software as a service. And for people who can upload data on it, it's platform as a service. Okay. Bhupender says content display on top of media. Yes, Bhupender. So content is something. So if you understand web development, this is basically just DOM manipulation, which is happening in the backend. There is some JavaScript which is replacing the text over there. But as a content guy, you will not understand what is JavaScript. You will not understand what is DOM. But what you will understand is I have a software. If I click on publish, this content will basically get reflected over there. Right. So it's for you, it's a platform. Cool. All right. Any more questions, guys? Any more questions? If not, let's go ahead and perform the hands-on. Any more questions? Okay. Sina says, with all your explanation, now it seems to me that cloud computing models based on service is actually a categorization based on usage. Yes, Sina, you can understand it like this. So these are service models, that's why, right? And the ones we discussed before is basically, what do you say? It's basically deployment models, right? Cool. Bhupender says how to enroll in a batch. Bhupender will be talking about it in a little while. Please wait. Ravi says, sir, if I'm invoking the Facebook's REST API and accessing data from it, then it is considered as PaaS or PaaS for me. Yes, Ravi. So since you do not get access to the server over here, what you do get access is to an interface through which you are able to interact with the server, right? So it's kind of a platform as a service, but I will not say exactly platform as a service because APIs are created by developers. They are not offered to you by cloud providers, if you are getting that right, right? So in the example, in the context of how I was explaining to you about Netflix content management or CRM content management, yes, you're absolutely correct. The concept that you are pinpointing on, that you are absolutely right. Okay, cool guys. Let's go ahead and now perform a hands-on. So what I'll be doing is, let me switch over to my AWS management console. So 1 second. So let's open aws.amazon.com. So this is the website which AWS gives you guys. Okay, and what you can do over here is you can go ahead and sign up. Now, how can you go ahead and sign up? So I already have an account, and that's why it's saying sign in to the console. But for you guys, when you first visit AWS, it will basically show something to you like this. It will say, okay, so I'm again getting sign up. 1 second. Sorry for that. So 1 second, let me just close all the incognito windows. All right, and now let me open AWS. Okay, so when you don't have an AWS account, you get an option like this, create an AWS account. Okay, so you click over here. All right, and now what I can do over here is I can type in my email, I can type in my password, right? And then I can give myself a name and click on continue. So let me do some steps for you guys. So let's say I enter some email address over here. Let's say hemant@intellipaat.com. I give some password. Let's say the password looks something like this. Okay, 1 second. And account name, let's say the account name is Intellipaat. Let's click on continue. And then it'll ask you for the account type. For you guys, you have to basically select the personal account type. All right. Then you can give your phone number over here. Then you can give your country or region. You can choose it. Give your address and fill all these details. Click here. Click on create account and continue. And after this, it will basically ask you for a credit card. Okay. Enter the credit card details. It will deduct around 2 rupees from your account. And once that amount is deducted, once it is verified that the credit card is working, those 2 rupees will be again credited back to your account. Okay. And once you are set with that, what you will reach is a screen like this. So let me just go log in. Okay, let me just quickly put in my credentials. So once I'm signed in, this is how the dashboard will basically look like. Okay. And once you see this dashboard, these are all the different kind of services that you have. Right now, what you can do on these services is you can go ahead and use them. Now, the two kind of services that we're going to make use of is EC2 and Elastic Beanstalk. So let's go ahead and use these services. Just give me a moment, guys. I'll just be back. Let's take a short, like 10 seconds break. I'll just be back. Give me 2 minutes. All right, guys, back. So what I can do is I can go to EC2. So first, let's try to explore what EC2 is all about. So EC2 is basically an infrastructure as a service, and this is what we're going to make use of today. Okay, so just go inside running instances. And here what you can do is you can launch your first server. So let's see how we can do that. So just click on launch instance. Okay, and then you can select the kind of operating system that you want, right? You can choose any operating system listed over here. You can choose Red Hat, you can choose SUSE Linux, you can choose Ubuntu, you can choose Windows, any operating system that you want, which is listed over here. You can choose it. If you don't want to get charged, always choose operating systems which are free tier eligible. Okay, so I'm going to choose Ubuntu, which is free tier eligible. Click on select. Okay, so AWS has this amazing free tier, guys, you can go ahead and use. So now what I'll be choosing is again a free tier instance, which is t2.micro. So what is this page basically? So this page basically helps you to select what is the amount of core CPUs that you need and what is the amount of memory that you guys want to basically deploy. So like I said, you can deploy any kind of server that you want. If I want, I can go ahead and deploy a 96 core CPU and a 384 GB RAM. It's up to me, right? If I select this server will get deployed for me, right? But let's be a little more minimalistic over here and let's choose a server for our sake, a free tier server that we're going to deploy, which is basically going to have 1 core CPU and 1 GB of RAM. Let's click on next. Now here you get the option of choosing your networking preferences. So since I've not explained networking to you yet, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it at default and I can straight away go ahead and click on review and launch. So once I click on review and launch, I get on the screen, guys, and now what I can do is I can review all the settings that I've done. And if all the settings look good to me, I can just straight away go ahead and click on launch. Here, basically a key pair is basically an authentication option that you have with your servers. So what I can do is I can go ahead and choose a key pair. Okay, let me explain it to you a little more in detail. So for example, when you have your own system, let's say, you open that system using a username and password, right? But if you tell that password to someone, somebody else can also use your servers, right? So to make it a little more secure, what AWS does is it gives you a key pair option. What is a pair over here? So one key is saved on the server which you are creating, and one key it gives to you, which you will have to specify at the time of connecting to the server. And only when you specify that file, you will be able to authenticate yourself to the server. So in this case, you do not have to remember any password. You do not have to worry about typing your password and somebody else seeing it. If they don't have this file that AWS is going to give you, they will not be able to connect to this server. Okay, as simple as that. So you can create a key pair, you can create that file, or you can choose a file that you already created some time back. So I already created some files some time back. So let me go ahead and choose the one that I already have. So I have this key mac-verge that I basically created earlier. Let me acknowledge that I have it, and let me click on launch instances. So with this, my server has now got deployed, guys. It's as simple as that. So now if I go ahead and if I see my server, you can see it's in the pending state as of now. And if I refresh, it will take about a minute or so, and then this server will get deployed. So as you can see, this instance is now in the running state, which means it's now all ready to get used. Now, how do I connect to this server which I have deployed where Ubuntu is also installed? In order to connect to it, I will use this IP address. This is the IP address. Let's copy it. And through this IP address, I will be connecting to this machine. Okay. Now, how can I connect to this machine from my system? there are two options, guys. So if you are on a Linux operating system, it's very easy, but I understand most of you are on Windows platforms. So on Windows, what you will have to do is, for doing an SSH, you will have to install a tool called Putty. So what is Putty? Putty is basically an SSH tool. So once you type in Putty, the first link that you will get is download Putty. Just click over it. Then you can see you can download Putty here. Again, click over it. Then you get this screen where you have to download the 64-bit of Putty. And there's one more software that you have to download, which is called Putty Gen, which will again be 64-bit version that you will be downloading. Once you download both these softwares will basically run on their own. So it's a very simple process to run them. So the first thing that you do when you are on a Windows system is you open the Putty Gen software. And the Putty Gen screen will basically look something like this. This is how the screen will look like to you. Now in this screen, what you have to do is you first have to click on load, and you will be selecting the key pair that AWS gave you. Okay. Once the file is loaded, this is how the screen will look. And now what you have to do is click on save private key. Once you click on save private key, what is going to happen? It is going to give you one more file, which is going to be of the format PPK. The file that Amazon is going to give you is going to be of the format PEM, PEM, and the format that you have to convert it into is PPK, because Putty does not understand PEM. It only understands PPK. So this tool helps you to convert that PEM file into PPK. That's about it. How do you convert it? Click on load the PEM file into the software, and then save the private key, which will basically be the PPK format. That's about it. Okay. Once this is done, what you do is, the next step that you do is, you basically open the Putty software. Now this is how the Putty software looks like. So first thing first, what you'll have to do is, this is how the screen will basically look like. Here you will have to put in the IP address of your server, which in my case is this IP address. This is the IP address that I will be putting in this particular box. After that, you will have to click on SSH. And once you click on SSH, let me see if I can see that screenshot somewhere. Yes. So once you click on SSH, then you will have to click on auth. So this drop down will open, or this option will basically open more options. You have to click on auth, and then you have to click on browse and select the PPK file that you converted earlier, right? And once you do that, next step is clicking on open, and that's about it. Now you will get a terminal, which will be similar to the terminal which I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so this is how you use the Windows option of connecting to a server which you have installed on, or which you have deployed on AWS. Now people on Mac or people on Linux systems such as Ubuntu, etc., can connect to your server in this fashion. So just open the terminal, go to the folder where you have the PEM file. So mine is in downloads, and enter this command. So SSH-I, and then specify the name of your key. In my case, it was this. The username, which is, so any Ubuntu operating system that you launch in AWS, the username is going to be always Ubuntu. Okay. @ the IP address of the machine, which is this. That's about it. Now, people, when you open this in Ubuntu, what is going to happen is you'll get a screen like this, where it'll ask you the option of whom do you want to log in as. So you have to basically type in Ubuntu over there. The username is Ubuntu. Hit enter, and then you will see a screen which is going to be similar to something like this. This warning Putty guys will not get. This warning Linux guys will get, where you basically tell them that yes, I trust this system. And then this is the output that you will get in Putty as well, guys. That welcome to Ubuntu, and then it will give you a dollar prompt, something like this. So now I have successfully logged in to my Ubuntu server, which is hosted on AWS. Great, very simple. Now what I can do is over here is, since I have the access to the operating system, I can do anything on this terminal. I can go ahead and update this machine first. Let me type in the command for update. And let's try to deploy a website on this server first. So what I'll do is I'll install the Apache 2 software, which is basically a web server. And then what we will be able to do is we will be able to access the software by using the IP address. And every one of you, if you open this IP address on your browser, you all will be able to see the website which I've just installed on the system. So the software is now deployed. What I can simply do is take this IP address, copy it, paste it on the browser, hit enter, and you will be able to see the website. Now, right now, you will not be able to see it. You will get a timeout error. Why? Because whenever you launch a server on AWS, that server is always surrounded by what do you say, as a firewall. Okay, so you have to open the firewall to accept connections on port 80. Port 80 is the port on which all the connections go when you're trying to access an IP address from the browser. And once I open that port 80, then I will be able to see the website which is present on my server. Okay, so how can I open that port? Just go to this screen, scroll down, you will see something called as launch visit or security group. Security groups basically means firewall in AWS. Just click on launch visit. And what you have to look for are the inbound rules. Just scroll down. You will find inbound rules over here. So as you can see, the only port which is open is port 22, which is basically used for SSH. And that's why we are able to access it from our machine. What we now want is the port 80 also open. So let's add a rule. Let's say the rule is going to be for HTTP. And I want to go ahead and give access only to my IP address. This is my IP address. Only this IP address will be able to access the website. So I'll just click on save rules. And let's go ahead and try to visit this website. So as you can see, I can see this Apache 2 page, which is now hosted on this particular IP address. Now let me give this IP address to you guys. So I'll just put this IP address in the chat. Guys, just go ahead, click on this IP address and let me know if you're able to see this website. You will not be able to see this website. And you know the reason. I'll not tell the reason because I want to see how attentive you guys are in the session. And while you're doing that, let me take up some questions. Meanwhile, let me know if you're able to access this website or not. Okay. Okay, Sandeep says Direct Connect is mainly used to establish a dedicated connection to run on-premise data center to AWS. Correct, Sandeep. How is it related to VPC pairing? It's not related to VPC pairing, Sandeep. VPC pairing is a very different concept. VPC pairing is when you have two networks on AWS which you want to connect to each other. In that case, you use VPC pairing. What we are talking about is connecting your on-premise network to AWS, and for that we use Direct Connect. Okay. Sina is saying PEM file is an authentication for what? What does it authenticate? It authenticates you into the server, Sina. That's what it does. So instead of entering password, you just, instead of password, you give this file, which is going to authenticate you onto the server. Niranjan says, what happens if I lost the key? Well, Niranjan, if you lost the key, then you will not be able to access your server. There are some hacks that you can make use of in order to basically get access to your server back. But officially, there is no way of accessing your server if you lose the key. Dilip says, how do you get the PPK file? Well, Dilip, I told you the PuttyGen software, right? If you use that PuttyGen software, click on Save Private Key, you will be able to get the PPK file. Sina says, what is the difference between public IP and private IP? Very good question, Sina. So the IP that I gave to you guys is basically public IP. And there's one more IP in EC2, which is basically called private IP. So that private IP will only work on the AWS network. So any machine that I deploy in AWS, which is going to be in the same network as this machine, they will be able to interact with each other using the private IP address if they want. But if from my system I go ahead and use the private IP address, which is basically this, nothing is going to happen. This only works on the AWS network. Tripti says, do I need to remember all these ports? Tripti, ideally, yes. When you start working, they automatically come to you. For example, websites are accessible on port 80. SSH is accessible on port 22. For MySQL, the port number is 3306. For RDP, the port number, if I'm not wrong, is 3389. For HTTPS, the port number is 443. So since I work with all these ports day in and day out, I remember these port numbers. Okay, Niranjan says not able to access. Devendra says not able to access, can't reach. Niranjan has told me the reason why you guys are not able to access it. Sinha has also given me the reason. Good work, Sinha and Niranjan. Tripti says not able to open. Okay, Ravi says we will not be able to access the website because correct, right, Ravi. Sandeep says not connecting. Ravi says I can't get site, can't reach error when I hit that IP address. Okay. Darshan Singh says I think this is a private IP. No, Darshan, this is a public IP that I've given you. Aisha says it's showing silent, can't be reached. Yes, Aisha, it will show. Niranjan is giving me the answer for that as well. Great. Dilip says, sorry, I meant to ask, how do you get the PEM file from AWS? So whenever you will be launching the server, Dilip, it will ask you if you have a PEM file already. And since you will be creating your account or server for the first time, it will not give you that option. The only option it will give you is create a key pair. The moment you create it, it will basically download the PEM file for you. Niranjan says what is meant by epiphermal IP. We'll discuss that, Niranjan. Devendra says can't access. Great. Supriya says for the SSH, the inbound port rule is 22 for all servers. Yes, Supriya. It's for everyone, that anyone who has the PEM file, the same that I do, they will be able to connect through SSH. Sandeep says need to give access to anywhere instead of my IP. Yes, Sandeep, that would be the correct answer. Krishna says not connecting as you have given. All right, guys. So I think most of you have given me the right answer. So I think I'm pretty happy that every one of you are attentive in the session. So guys, the reason you're not able to access it is because I have in the firewall, the inbound access, I only give it to my IP address. So what I can do is I can just edit the inbound rules and let me just change it to anywhere. Click on save rules. And now go ahead and try to access that same IP address and let me know if you're able to connect or not. Darshan says how to know whether it's a public IP or a private IP. Well, Darshan, honestly, there's no way. The only way you can get to know about is by going to your EC2 and checking which IP address it is. Like in my case, I copied IPv4 public IP, and that's how I knew. Sina says if you change HTTP port access to everyone, then we will be able to access. Yes, Sina, that's exactly what I just did. Ravi says now I'm able to access it. Great, Ravi. Krishna is able to access. Sinha is able to access. Devendra, Sandeep, Supriya is asking, we can connect to any particular IP address? Yes, Supriya. I mean, you can connect to any IP address given you have the permission to do it. For example, on this IP address, you were not able to connect, but now that I've given access in the firewall, you're able to connect. Ravi says, after you modify the security group rule to anywhere, we are now able to access. Great, Ravi. Okay, somebody's asking, can you show us how you change the inbound rule? Sure, Tripti. So now what you can do is, in the security groups, you have to just go inside the security group. Then you have to click on edit inbound rules over here. So the earlier rule that we added, change the source of that rule, click over here, click on anywhere, or you can type in this IP address over here in the field, and that will give you the access. That's about it. Sandeep says, where do you use custom IP? Sandeep, you use custom IP when you don't want your IP address to change, which is usually the case with all production applications. But I think for this session, let's hold on to that thought, because elastic IP, so what you're referring to is elastic IPs. Elastic IPs are IPs which never change. So IP addresses that you just got right now, or what we have in EC2 right now, if I stop this server and if I run it again, this IP address will change, because IP addresses are dynamic in nature. But when you have a production application, a lot of things are dependent on this IP address. And that's why what happens is you make it static. And that's what an elastic IP address is. Cool. Any other questions, guys, with respect to EC2? I'd be happy to answer. Otherwise, I'll show you guys about Elastic Beanstalk. Okay. Sina says, I've just played around and tried to experiment with HTTPS. When I tried to access HTTP, it was not successful. Reason, you have not given inbound port access for HTTPS. You've only given for HTTP until now. Great. Yes, Sina, I think you have absolutely bang on with what you have understood till now. Great. Okay, so I believe real projects follow the same process of EC2 creation that you're explaining, or is there a way to automate entire EC2 instance creation? Well, real projects also start like this, sir. But what happens is, when you are dealing with an application which is now very much into production, which has been deployed on AWS, which is there since 2-3 years, processes become much more, I would say, automated. For example, I created an EC2 instance like this. I can also create it from my terminal if I want, right? But when you are deploying something for the first time, right, it's always the same method. But when you are maintaining something, when you start maintaining this application, you maintain it from the terminal, which is the work of administrators, if I must say. Cool. Any more questions, guys? Anything that you want me to answer? If not, let's go ahead. Okay, no more questions. Great. Let's go ahead. Let's start with Elastic Beanstalk. And I understand it's been 2 hours now since you guys are there in the session. Just hang on 10 more minutes, and I think you can go ahead, go with a good learning today. So in Elastic Beanstalk, guys, so what you've just understood is infrastructure as a service, where you basically got access to the whole operating system, right? But now let me show you platform as a service. So in platform as a service, you do not get access to the operating system. What you do get access to is a platform. So let's click on create application. So it's asking me what will be the application name. Let's say the application name will be hello world. Any tag that I want to give? No. What is the platform? Okay, so here it is asking me what is the application that I'm basically deploying, right? So let's say I'm deploying a PHP application, let's assume. And I want to deploy a sample application as of now. So let's click on create application. Otherwise, I can specify my code also over here if I want. But right now, let's see how a sample application is deployed. So as you can see, that's what's about it. It did not ask me what operating system do you want. It did not ask me how do I want what is the size of the server, what is the network configuration. It just asked me what kind of application do I want to deploy. I just clicked on create application, and now that application is getting deployed for me automatically. So it is going to take care about all the network configurations, all the firewall issues, everything is going to be taken care of by this application for me. I don't have to do anything. I just gave my code to it. That's about it. So while this is happening, guys, let me know if you guys have any questions. Okay. Sina is asking, in industry, in real project, which one is used more, GUI or CLI? Well, Sina, see, nobody will judge you if you're using the GUI or the CLI for any of these things, because what companies want is their work to be done. That's about it. And even when you're learning the course, what we'll focus more on is the concept behind anything. We will not focus on whether we are using a GUI or a CLI. We'll teach you a general way, which is basically the GUI method of implementing an architecture on AWS. Once you understand the concept behind it, it is probably a day or a two job for you to understand the syntax for CLI. And once you know what you have to do, I mean, the commands are just going to help you to do what you have to do. But first, you have to have in your head what you want to basically implement, right? So that would be my answer to your question. Tripti is saying, please explain Elastic Beanstalk. So Tripti, whatever I explained about platform as a service, just understand that Elastic Beanstalk is a platform as a service service that you have. Okay. So in this case, it's exactly like EC2. So in EC2, I give you an IP address, you were able to access the website, right? In this case also, you will get a IP address or a domain name using which you will be able to access a website. But what is the difference? In EC2, you had the access to the operating system. You had to install the software on your own. You had to open the firewall settings, etc. In this case, all I specified was what kind of application I have. If there's a code, it asked me where is the code, probably a GitHub source, or if I have everything in a zip file, I could have uploaded, or if I want to deploy a sample application, it asked me even that. I chose that. I clicked on create application, and that's about it. I don't even know which operating system is going to be deployed in the backend. Right? All I know is that I have a PHP application, and that PHP application I can deploy on this Elastic Beanstalk. Sandeep is asking, can we get the recording of this session? Yes, Sandeep, that will be mailed to you. Don't worry. Aditya is saying, what is GUI? GUI is graphical user interface, Aditya. So whatever you see on the screen is GUI. When I use a terminal, this is terminal. This is command. So whatever commands I type over here, it's basically the terminal method. When I use the same thing for using the GUI, that's basically the what you're doing on the browser. Ravi says that today's class was awesome. If possible, can we have a series of AWS demo class taking 2 services each day? That will be very helpful if possible. Just a suggestion from my end. Sure, Ravi. So basically, this demo class, is going to be a series, but from now, all the next set of classes that we are going to have, the continuation of these is going to be on our premium platform. But yes, we come with new topics every day. So if you are already subscribed to our YouTube channel, I think there we can meet again for these kind of sessions. Sina is saying, how is Elastic Beanstalk understood? How much memory will it be used for my application? How will it take care of load balancing? Sina, so everything will be managed by Elastic Beanstalk. If there is any scaling up or scaling down which is required, it will be done by Elastic Beanstalk itself. Okay, so now my Elastic Beanstalk application is deployed, and you can see the status is okay, right? So all I have to do now is I have to just click on this link, and here you go. Here is my sample application. Here is a website that I can go ahead and access. So what I'll do is I'll just give this to you guys, and let me know if you all are able to access this link. And now what I can do is, if you see the dashboard, which I was talking about earlier as well, I just have to click on upload and deploy. It'll ask me for my code. If I choose a file, it'll basically open a pop-up through which I just have to specify my code where it is, probably a zip file. If I click on open after that, it'll basically take that code and it is going to deploy it on the server. and then that same code I will be able to access on the same link. Okay, this is what platform as a service is, guys. I'm not dealing with the operating system directly. Okay. Okay. Tripti saying what generally people prefer. Well, Tripti depends. So as you saw in Elastic Beanstalk, I had a very limited option of choosing which kind of application I have. So in case my application stack is not mentioned over there, I will have to prefer EC2. In other cases, I can prefer Elastic Beanstalk. No issues over there. Aditya says which module, which service model is Git? Git is basically, I mean, it's a platform as a service, if you would say, or it could be a software as a service as well. Aditya, see, from what we have understood today is platform as a service is basically a service which is basically going to help you make some changes on the end output that you get, right? So on Git, the basically software helps you to do version control of code, right? So you can upload your code over there and your application will be version controlled. It will not help you to deploy your application, or it will not give you an output of any sorts. So it's a software as a service. In your understanding, like I said, it's always debatable as to the difference between platform as a service and a software as a service. But yes, if I, as a cloud architect, will understand. If you ask me from a developer's perspective, what is Git? I will say it's a software as a service. You do not know where it is hosted. You cannot change in the platform that I've given you. The only thing that you can do is you can upload your code and you can get the use that I've designed that software for. That's about it. Devendra is saying, are you starting the new batch of AWS Architecture Solution this week? And will you be continuing the further classes? Yes, Devendra. So we will be having more such classes in the Intellipaat platform. So I think more of this we can discuss in the later part of the session, where we'll also have a quick demo of all the things that we just discussed. Aditya said, can we get you as an instructor? Aditya, yes, sure, why not? But like I said, not everybody can be in one batch. So based on batch availability, you guys can choose which instructor you want. Okay, Sina says, other than GUI or CLI, does AWS provide any API-based interface? Yes, Sina, there is something called as an API gateway. Where you can basically host your own APIs. That is a service which is offered. Sandeep says, what are the charges for the premium platform? Hold on to that, Sandeep. We'll be discussing that in a moment. Okay. So Niranjan says he's able to access. Sina says he's able to access this link. Ravi says he's able to access this link. Great. So Sina says, how can we put access control in Elastic Beanstalk? Like EC2, we can control IP and port-based access. Good question, Sina. So even in Elastic Beanstalk, what you get access to is this platform. And if you go to the configuration of this platform, you will have the option of specifying the security. One second. So we have not deployed it as a part of a VPC. So when you're deploying an application, if you define that it has to be part of a VPC, you will be able to get the option of security groups. Right now, I think we didn't select that option. So right now it's deployed as it is. But yes, if you choose the VPC option, then you will get the security groups option as well. Also, guys, you can check over here that there's a load balancer also, which is basically running right now. And it also has defined, the instance type automatically as t2.micro. Now, if you want, you can edit this as well. If you want to change your server capacity, just click on edit. You can change your type of server as well. If you change the type of server, it will take some time. Your application will be down for around 2 or 3 minutes. And again, it will be up. And again, you will see your application working. Okay. But that also happens in a matter of seconds, because in the backend, what happens is Elastic Beanstalk basically makes use of blue-green deployment. So your downtime will be minimal when you're changing settings as well in your application. And that all, I think we can discuss more when we're learning Elastic Beanstalk in detail. So there are a lot of things that you can learn over here. Okay, Ravi says one question similar to what you did in EC2 security. If I want to make an Elastic Beanstalk application available to only specific people, so yes, Ravi, you can do that. Like I said, you just need to include it inside a VPC, which we forgot to do when we were deploying Elastic Beanstalk. Sandeep says you're a good trainer. Thank you, Sandeep. Krishna says I'm able to access the link. Great, Krishna. Tripti says, what is load balancer? Load balancer, Tripti, what happens is when you deploy your application, it's usually on multiple servers. But as users, you will always know one link. For example, when you are accessing Google, you only know google.com. Now, Google is basically giving access to millions of people who are searching every day. So obviously, for them, it is not possible to do everything from one server. So what they do is they have a load balancer, which basically balances the load between multiple servers to which the requests are sent. And that is exactly how even here what it is happening. It has given you a link. That link basically is right now just going to one server, but as the traffic grows, it can automatically scale the servers to a number which you can specify. And then for you will just be accessing one link, but your request can be routed between multiple servers. Niranjan say, what is ephemeral storage? So Niranjan, what happens is when you have your server, you can attach multiple hard drives to it. So when you do that, those are basically called ephemeral storages. Okay, Sina says almost for all operating system or server related configuration, Elastic Beanstalk is giving an editable option. Then how come it is pass? Well, you can edit it. It is giving you an edit option, Sina, right? But you're not getting access to the operating system. See, understand, you cannot log into this operating system and do configuration changes over there. What you can edit is, if I click on edit over here, again, I'll get a platform like this. I can choose which system I want. I can choose T3.large, click on apply, and that's about it. I cannot do anything else. I cannot go inside the server. I cannot make software changes, right? Okay, Darshan says, can you show how to create VPC? Well, Darshan, that will take a lot of time because that requires you to understand a lot more things. So probably in some other session, we can do that. Aditya says, what is your name? I want to request Intellipaat to change my instructor as you, as I am enrolled into Cloud and DevOps Masters. And I got a selfish video, so I literally obsessed with your voice. All right, Aditya. My name is Hemant. So you can inquire about it in the CC. Great, guys. So now what I'm going to do is, just give me one moment. I am going to introduce you to my course advisor. His name is Mr. Satish. He's a senior course advisor with us. And he's going to take the session forward and talk about how you can actually go ahead and enroll for this kind of training. So Satish, I'm going to make you the presenter now. And you can also unmute yourself by clicking on that red icon that you see over there. So let's try. Just click on that mic option. It will turn into green, and that's when I will be able to hear you.
Yeah. Yes, so yes. Hemant. Am I audible?
Yes, Satish, you're audible, and we can see your screen as well. Please go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. First of all, thank you, Hemant, for your insightful session. So, hello, guys. I'm Satish. I hope everyone would have got a complete clarity and prospects on importance and the necessity of AWS in today's world. Let me introduce myself. I'm Satish. I'm the senior mentor with Intellipaat. As a senior mentor, I would like to take you through with two of the most comprehensive program suggestions from our side. If anyone is looking for a transition in cloud and DevOps technology, or looking forward to see yourself in a meaty role like a cloud engineer or a cloud architect, or if someone is looking forward to commence a career in cloud and DevOps technology as well, guys. Fine. So first thing is, I request you to, if you are guys are seated, I request you to go to our site intellipaat.com, and there you can just type cloud and DevOps. Just for an example, I'll just show you how to navigate through the right suggestion, program suggestion. So go to our website. Can you see a white rectangular search bar? You can just type cloud and DevOps and click on search. You could see all the suggestions related to cloud and DevOps. There you can see the first program, which is called as the Cloud and DevOps Architect Masters course, which is a first session which I'm offering it to you as a senior mentor, with which would be sufficing your career goals. And second option would be certification in Cloud and DevOps as well. So these are the two most comprehensive programs which would be completely sufficing everyone's requirement if they want to see themselves in a meaty role, or if they want to have a good career or proficient, or if they want to be a proficient expert in cloud and DevOps technology, guys. So first program, let me just take you through the first program. The first program, as I said you before, it's Cloud and DevOps Architect Masters program, and it's one of the most comprehensive program offered by IBM and Microsoft directly. Okay, and adding to it, this program, the participants or the learners who are all enrolling for this program will be industry certified as well. As the name suggests, with IBM and Microsoft, you'll be accredited by IBM and Microsoft as an authentic professional or as a master at cloud and DevOps technology. So when we jump or deep dive into the curriculum, predominantly, as the name suggests, as it's a master program, the learners would be completely gaining a 360-degree view of knowledge on the complete cloud and DevOps architecture, where learners will be having a complete clarity on all the modules of cloud technologies prevailing in the global market, starting from AWS, Microsoft Azure, DevOps, Python, Google Cloud, as well as Splunk, developer and admin, and also Hadoop administration, Agile, and Linux. So if you could see this program, if you could see, everything is going to be taught by Intellipaat expertise training team, from the basic level till the advanced level as well for you. So starting from Linux, so once learners are enrolling, we also follow a dedicated learning path for the learners to follow, okay, so that there will not be any hindrances in the learning modules basically. So when it comes to the course offerings or the key features, okay, this program comprises of 147 hours of instructor-led online training, which comes up with on-spot doubt clarification facilities. And second, you will be having the lifetime access to high-quality e-learning videos prepared by the tech architects as well as the industry experts. Okay. And third, lifetime free 24/7 doubt clarification support, and also the program curriculum comes up with lifetime free upgradation as well. And adding to it, obviously, our mentorship, with reference to Hemant's session, you can understand our mentorship is going to be highly focusing on the practical aspects. So there's no doubt on it. Our mentorship is 70% practical and 30% theoretical. Predominantly, we make you to focus on multiple or numerous hands-on exercises, assignments, real-time projects, and the capstone projects, where you can completely implement all your learnings, understandings on the modules of cloud. And you will also be implementing, or you will be doing that capstone project on your own, which will be making you as an authentic and proficient cloud and DevOps expert. Okay. And with reference to the certification, obviously you can just you'll be getting accredited or certified by IBM and Microsoft. As the screen shared, you can see the certifications that you're going to get, which will be a strong globally recognized credential in your career as well, that you're going to be a cloud and DevOps master. And along with that, if you could see, as I said before, we also offer flexible schedule options for our esteemed learners, where if you miss out any sessions or not a problem, the sessions recordings will be there, where you can watch it in your LMS. And adding to it, we also organize you one-on-one doubt resolution session apart from the sessioners. If you feel that you have a one-on-one discussion with a senior mentor to resolve your doubts, that's always available. And we do have flexible batch system as well, where you have the flexibility of attending the batches as many times as you want. So this comprehensive program is completely going to be completely focusing on the job market requirements, because we at Intellipaat, we not only focus on training the learners as per the market requirements, we also take a prompt initiative to offer 100% intense job assistance. So when it comes to job assistance, we will be having some complete mentorship on how to, where mentorical advice will be offered to you on how to prepare your CV, how to prepare your LinkedIn profile, and some insightful discussions with our industry experts or with our domain experts, so that regarding the interview questions, some mock interview sessions will also be conducted for a better clarity, and we start your outsourcing of your CV as well. So this is a program which this is the first program suggestion what I can suggest you as a senior mentor who wants to expand their horizons or upgrade their skill sets in cloud and DevOps technology. And the second program which I would strongly suggest you to go with this is the certification in cloud and DevOps offered by E&ICT Academy of IIT Guwahati directly in collaboration with Microsoft. Oh, why there are two programs? Okay, what is the difference? Yes. So with reference to the program curriculum, there's not much difference. Okay, with as considered the first program, both the program curriculum seems to be similar. Okay, but there are few differences or few highlighting catchy features in this program which make this program more and more special. So I'm glad to show you on how this program is different as well. Okay, so this is the first program. First, there is a second tabulation which you see is the Cloud and DevOps Architect Masters program, which I explained you recently. And the second one is the IIT program, which is a Cloud and DevOps. So what is its specialty in the IIT program of Cloud and DevOps is, first, when a learner as a professional, if you seek or if you feel that you wanted to have a strong academic credential in your career, like gaining the prestigious and most coveted executive or most coveted alumni status of E&ICT Academy of IIT, obviously that is a program which would be suitable for you. And second, you will be having a dedicated learning manager who would be assigned to you from our expertise support team, who would be traveling with you throughout your journey till you complete the program. And trust me, and this IIT certified program comes up with guaranteed exclusive interview calls as well for the meaty roles, where you can unlock or unleash numerous opportunities in the market. And with reference to this IIT program, you'll be having some top class mentorship from the top rated IIT professors as well. And we also organize some weekly support sessions as well for solving the assignments and everything, so that your mentorship or there will not be any hindrances or hurdles in your mentorship as well. And adding to it, rest other features like 24/7 support, lifetime free upgradation to the course materials, flexible schedule, job assistance, mock interview sessions, and one-on-one doubt resolution sessions, everything going to be remaining the same. And with reference to this IIT program, in order to summarize it, this program is completely concentrated with a high academic rigorousness along with the industrial exposure for you. So if you feel that you wanted to know more on the program info related to cloud that we are offering, okay, you can make an inquiry in the chat in the present in our website, okay, where our person is always available 24/7 in the chat to help you out. And also you can also call these toll-free numbers as well as numbers where the calls will be directed to the corresponding mentoring team to guide you on the right learning path or career path, understanding your career goals or professional goals. So guys, so if any questions, you can just post it in the question box where I can resolve it to you right now. And on adding to it, on top of it, for both the programs, the participants of this valuable webinar are eligible for exceptional scholarships up to 30%, okay, as well. So when you are inquiring, you can also post or add an additive information that you have that you are an esteemed participant of this valuable webinar, so that it will also be easier for the mentoring team to work on the best scholarships for you guys. Any questions, guys? Guys?
Yes.
Any more
So
questions?
we have a question from Sinha. So he says, I'm 17 years experienced IT project manager on data warehousing and BI space. I'm away from my hands-on for the last 10 years. Now I'm feeling that I'm no more relevant. I want to know and I want to know more technical skills. So what kind of course will be more suitable for me, cloud or DevOps or data science?
All right. Hemant, could you please repeat the question? What are actually the participant skill sets actually with 17 years of experience in?
Mr. Sinha is right now an IT project manager. He's not been doing hands-on for the past 10 years.
Okay.
He's belonging from data warehousing and BI space. And he wants to now get into the technical domain, and he's asking whether DevOps is more suitable for him, cloud or DevOps, or is it data science which will be more suitable for him?
All right. Okay. So now actually my strong suggestion as a senior mentor would be, okay, you can consider analytics as a primary option. Okay. So as you're being a senior project manager, okay, learning, obviously since you're working in the business intelligence domain, you would be having a clarity on how you are visualizing the data and deriving the business insights. But learning analytics, it will also be paving the way for you to how to analyze the data in detail and with various technologies or tools like R, SAS, or Python. Okay, and you can also learn Hadoop and Spark as well, where you can learn how to store and process the data as well, huge amount of Teradata as well, which would be making you as a complete architect in big data analytics technology. Or if you feel that you want to learn something, one of the hottest technology, where you should not be treated as a fresher, or you want to maintain that professional legacy in terms of designation, I would also suggest you to learn cloud and DevOps. Because while learning cloud and DevOps, having a wide exposure of a managerial role, okay, obviously your skill sets as a manager in people management or corporate etiquette, or all the skills is going to be there in your CV. By learning cloud and DevOps architecture is just going to be an additive topping for you, which will be making you as an authentic tech architect level roles in cloud and DevOps, no doubts on it. So at the end of the day, you are the most best person who can decide what would be more good for you. My strong suggestion is, first preference would be analytics, and you can also consider cloud and DevOps. Both would be sufficing your career goals if you want to see yourself in a key decision making role. Like for an example, as a tech architect, or a technological architect, or an enterprise architect, okay, etc. So whatever the roles, obviously having 17 years of experience, your next level of aim should be seeing yourself only in a core tech level architect or a technological architect. So my strong suggestion would be the same. You can consider analytics as a top priority since you are from a BI background, but you can also go ahead with cloud and DevOps. No way that you are going to be completely deviated from your career, or deviated from your profile, basically. Sana, I hope I have clarified the doubts up to your satisfaction. Any other questions?
So one more question. Aditya says, I know Python. Is it necessary to learn competitive coding to get a job?
Yeah, see, today, with reference to today's job market, with reference to uncertainties, okay, only people with industrial certification and multiple skill sets are preferred a lot. Why? Because owing to the project certain uncertainties which is prevailing in the project, when a professional has a multiple skill sets, he's always on a safer side. That is the real-time scenario. There is a real truth also. But since you are learning, since you have a good knowledge on Python, yeah, it's a good sign that you have a good skill set in one of the hottest programming prevailing in the market. But I feel after learning Python, you can also consider going ahead with cloud, or you can also learn machine learning or analytics also. Learning these technologies will be an additive topping for you, okay, so that you'll be a multiple skill professional. And in terms of your career prospects or job prospects also, you can focus something good for your career in the very near future.
Okay. To add on to what Satish has explained, Aditya, from the perspective of cloud and DevOps, you actually don't have to get into the depth of competitive coding, or even getting to know programming language more. Because when you talk about the cloud and DevOps profile, the most that would be expected would be expected from you would be to implement automation using Python, which is basically the knowledge of scripting in Python, which involves hoops, which involves IO commands. So if you are good with creating code by using logic, I think that would be it. You do not have to understand about time complexity or data structures or other kind of things when you're strictly talking about cloud and DevOps profile. But let's say you do not want to aim for cloud and DevOps profile. You are basically aiming for a profile like SDE, so which has nothing related to cloud and DevOps. So in that case, you will be going ahead and you'd be preparing for the competitive practice. So that would be it. Okay. So Ravi says, will job assistance be a part of only cloud and DevOps IIT course, or will it also be a part of the master's course?
So job assistance is offered to all of our programs, okay, but I would strongly suggest the assured interview calls comes for this IIT program for you, basically, okay, because predominantly, if you could see, it's all completely because of the academic credential what you're going to gain. It's not only about that academic credential, because at the end of the day, it's also your hard work which is involved at the back end. because you will be made to expose in huge high level academic practical exposure. Okay, you'll be working on major 3 capstone projects, 25 plus global business case study scenarios, and you'll be exposed to global business case study scenarios, and you'll be working on 30 plus mini projects as well in this IIT program, and adding to it numerous hands-on exercises and assignments. We'll be making you, or we'll be molding you more and more proficient. And further, both of these programs, the main objective is not only helping the learners to find their dream job or dream role. Apart from this, both these programs, with reference to Intellipaat mentorship, we always focus to mold a learner, okay, to be a creative problem solver in the real-time market challenges. That is more important. So if you have that ideology, or if you have that attitude to learn the things, obviously you can shine anywhere, whatever the program you choose. But at the end of the day, when you want to go ahead with assured interview calls, when you feel that you want to go ahead with assured interview calls, I strongly suggest you to go with this IIT program. And obviously, Cloud and DevOps Architect Masters also intense 100% job assistance is being offered to all of our programs, including that CD Masters also.
Right. So Ravi, to add on to what Satish said, and to basically answer your question more clearly, we in the IIT course you get 3 assured interview calls, right? That would be from our side. What we give in the Cloud and DevOps Architect is basically you a medium through which you can apply. So we have jobs.intellipaat.com. It's basically a job portal where we basically list down all the requests that we get for companies that they are looking out for people who are probably proficient in cloud or DevOps or any other profile that they basically are asking for. So we give you access to that job portal, but that does not guarantee you an interview call. If you apply to it, it depends on how well you have gelled up with the Intellipaat team and got your resume prepared, and what all kind of background or you have in your resume through which they will be shortlisting. But when you enroll for the IIT course, because we will be backing it up with the team that we have, which basically will be forwarding your resumes judiciously to a lot of companies who are looking out for cloud and DevOps profile, and will be pitching your resume especially for the profile. Reason being, I mean, we have trained you separately with instructors from all over the industry, also from mentors from IIT. So it is our guarantee that we give to the company that this guy will get placed for sure. So that is something that we are giving in our IIT course as an added value. But when you talk about the Cloud and DevOps Masters program, again, I mean, if you have the right experience, obviously you will get interview calls, but we do not guarantee interview calls to you. But here we have a sure shot guarantee that you will get 3 interview calls from the companies that have basically requested us, for the Cloud and DevOps profile. So that is the main difference. Okay, next question is from Sandeep. So I have around 7 years of experience on application servers, move to Kubernetes. It is beneficial for me to move to AWS, or I can upskill into Kubernetes and Docker or OpenShift. I don't have programming skills. Please suggest. So Sandeep, for you, what I would say is that you can go ahead and upskill yourself into learning Kubernetes into more detail, or Docker into more detail, which is actually what the Cloud and DevOps course is also for, right? But like I said in the beginning of the session as well, when you search for a cloud engineer, they will not only be expecting you to know DevOps, they will also be expecting you to know one cloud provider. And not only one cloud provider, they sometimes also expect you to know multiple cloud providers, secondary cloud providers as Azure and GCP as well. And that's why this curriculum that we have designed, especially for that job profile, which is Cloud and DevOps engineer. Right? So when you see the curriculum, you will see that all the job descriptions, whatever job descriptions that are out there, whatever skills that they have mentioned, all those skills have been included in this course, so that whenever you are applying for job, you don't have a hitch that I do not know a certain skill set which the job is expecting from me. Okay. Next question, Satish, is from Ravi. He says, I have one more question. If a person is already enrolled in Cloud and DevOps, can he upgrade to the IIT program? Or what is the minimum cost? If yes, I can contact you after this session.
I feel that obviously a person is good to go when he wants to upgrade to the IIT program. Okay, so obviously you can he can contact me, okay, or he can contact our mentoring team, where our expertise mentoring team is available to help him on the corresponding steps.
So Ravi, what we are going to do is we are anyways going to contact you back after this webinar, right? And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna forward your request to Satish as well, who's going to forward it to his team, who are also going to understand what your query is in detail, and accordingly they can suggest you what would be the best way forward. Okay, so Sina is asking me, Satish, what's your view on blockchain technologies as a career transition for me, who has 17 years of experience as a project manager and worked on finance domain for the last 5 to 6 years?
Fine. My strong suggestion as a senior mentor would be, I feel that you can just go ahead with some of the core technological related domains. Okay, when we say analytics or when we say cloud, it's completely on the business front or business front end. Okay, which is going to support the business evergreen manner. But when I say blockchain, okay, it's completely the market fluctuations, everything is going to be there. But if you feel in terms of your job career security or career security, my strong suggestion is you can always be on the business front end with reference to analytics or cloud than blockchain. My strong suggestion as a mentor would be.
Okay. All right. Aditya says, what is the process of interview? Is it going to be like campus interview where we have several rounds of interviews like aptitude and then face to face?
For which, for job?
So so the interviews that we'll be sourcing for these guys, how will the interview be? Okay. So, Aditya, actually, what happens is when you basically apply as a senior candidate, as a candidate who has experience in the technology, aptitude is not a round which happens. That only happens when you are in college. When you apply for senior profiles, the first round would be probably a tech round where they will get to know what is your experience about. And from the second round onwards, it's basically going to be between you and your manager, who's actually going to manage you if you get selected. Who's going to check if you are eligible to get in the team and if you have the required skill set or not. Cool. So any more questions, guys? Satish and me, we are here. We can answer all your queries. And if not, we can conclude the session. Any more questions? So Satish, can you also give them a contact number where probably they can reach you out in case they have more detail, more questions to ask?
Yes. Yeah. Can you see the contact number at the bottom of my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Indian participants can reach this contact number, or they can also drop their query in the chat box that is in the chat which is present in the website, where our person executive is available 24/7, and where he can also help you out with the right queries, and he can just assign to the corresponding mentor, where our expertise mentor team will be reaching the inquirers directly through telephone on their availability, and they can guide them on the right learning path or career path depending upon their professional goals or career goals, basically.
So can you also chat option, Satish, just to let us know like how the chat basically works, because right now we cannot see the chat option.
Yeah.
Right. So guys, this will be the place that we will be typing in.
All right. Clear, Hemant?
Okay. Yeah, we can see the screen.
Yes.
All right. Any other questions, guys? We'd be happy to answer. If not, let's conclude the session. Any more questions? You can also email us, guys, if required. The email would be sales@intellipaat.com.
Sales@intellipaat.com. Yes.
Yeah. So as Satish suggested, the best way would be just go onto our website, drop your contact details in the chat option, and we'll be giving you a call back within 10 or 15 minutes. Otherwise, as well, for this webinar, all the people who attended this webinar will be taking a feedback call with you guys. And if you want, you can go ahead and discuss your queries over there as well. All right, it looks good. Satish, anything more that you would like to add before we conclude the session?
No, Hemant. Yeah. So, guys, it was pleasure conversing with you. Okay, it's my sincere pleasure addressing you all. So, any doubts, any clarifications, the team of Intellipaat is always there on your career as a right hand to guide you on the right learning path or career path, holding your hands throughout your journey, guys. Okay, it's my commitment as a senior mentor. I'll also be available for you guys for any time you can reach us. Fine. So it's
Great.
pleasure conversing with everyone, guys. My sincere thanks to Hemant as well. The session was completely highly insightful, Hemant. Okay. So anything else, guys, that you wanted to add so that I can able to resolve your doubts? Anything else?
Okay. Thank you, Satish. So Sina is asking, is there any idea? Do we have a series of demo classes like this today? Well, Sina, for AWS, the session that we had today would be it. The further sessions would be on a premium platform. But tomorrow we even have a session for data science. So if you're interested, you can just go to intellipaat.com/academy and you can register there for the demo of data science. Okay, so with that, guys, thank you all for joining in today. Thank you, Satish, for explaining the product so well.
Yeah. Thank you,
And
Hemant. Thanks all.
okay, and thank you all for joining in today. I hope you guys are going away with a little more knowledge from this session. And like I said, if you want to reach us out, you have the numbers on the screen. You can go to intellipaat.com, reach a course advisor for any more help. So thank you guys for all attending the session. Have a great day ahead and goodbye.